Hello everybody, thanks for joining me today. We're going to be talking about the intelligent enterprise from SAP. And I specifically chose this as a topic because we've been using the term intelligent enterprise for a couple of years now. But a lot of people say, what does that really mean at the end of the day? Why intelligent enterprise? So that's what we're going to unpack in the next 15 minutes or so. And I'd like to start by looking at a definition of intelligence as a kind of point of departure. If I take one from psychology, intelligence, one of the definitions is that it's the ability to learn from experience, anticipate problems, and use knowledge to adapt to new situations. And we've all done that. What we often don't think about, of course, is that as humans, the apex primate, we don't just adapt to new situations. We adapt the world around us to our own needs. We did that with the agricultural revolution thousands of years ago. We did it more recently with the industrial revolution, and we're doing it all over again now with the digital revolution that we're right in the middle of as we speak. So intelligence and adaptation kind of go hand in glove. Now, when we think about that in a business context, the adaptation that we need to do is typically couched as business transformation. We need to transform some or other aspects of our organization to meet new requirements that we face or to seize new opportunities that we're able to create through this process of adaptation. When we think about adaptation, what are we adapting to today? I think there's three big buckets. There's the long-term secular trends that are in play. There are new technologies that are very closely intertwined to those secular trends. And then there are events that crop up that have a major impact that we typically don't expect. So if we take that first one, the long-term secular trends, the big one is, of course, the move from the Industrial Revolution to the digital revolution, sometimes called the Fourth Industrial Revolution. And without going through this in detail, just think of a couple of aspects that are changing. Firstly, in manufacturing, we're starting to move away from a subtractive and extractive type of industry to an additive type of approach using 3D printing, my apologies, and also where we're starting to look at reclaiming products in the bottom end of the supply chain once they've reached the end of their lives. So recyclability and repairability are two things that are becoming much more important that we maybe didn't worry about in the past. If we think about energy, we're decarbonizing. We have to try and arrest climate change, and that means the rise of new forms of energy like renewables, which come with new opportunities and new challenges. And if you're in IT, there is no shadow of a doubt that the role of IT has changed over the last decade or so. From being a cost center that provided enabling tools to the business, IT is now firmly in the driving seat in terms of being a revenue generating capability and driving competitive differentiation for organizations. So those are some of the sort of secular trends that you need to face. When we talk about technologies, you may be familiar with the idea of general purpose technologies. These are technologies that arrive on the scene, wind up having a profound impact on human life and the planet that we don't always realize at the time they arrive. So, for example, when Thomas Davenport invented the electric motor in 1834, I'm willing to guarantee he had no idea that that electric motor was going to wind up in things as diverse as an electric toothbrush, the windscreen wipers on a car, an air conditioner, or a computer disk array. He just wouldn't have been able to think of those things or those use cases because they hadn't been invented or thought of. The outcomes of these general purpose technologies is not always great. If you take plastics, which arrived about 100 years ago, at the time we would have been celebrating plastics as this great new malleable material that we could use in all sorts of different applications, and we wouldn't have been thinking back then of the enormous challenges we face today with pollution from plastics in our oceans and rivers and everywhere. So the one that's on the scene today, the latest general purpose technology, artificial intelligence, promises to change everything. And we need to think really carefully to make sure those are changes we want in our societies and in our businesses. There's no doubt there are going to be great productivity benefits to be had, but we also need to think about the ethics and the usage of this AI and how it will impact society going forward. And then the last category, VUCA conditions. You may have heard the term VUCA, stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It describes the world we live in where things move really fast in unexpected directions. We're not really sure what the outcomes are going to be, and it's difficult to make decisions. A great example is the pandemic. No one really expected it. It's had a massive impact, and we're still not certain how to find our way out of it. But other examples are extreme weather that comes about as a result of climate change, which can disrupt the agricultural supply chain, can disrupt cities, can cause bushfires that disrupt people's lives and destroy their livelihoods. And then things like geopolitics that play out and create new challenges like protectionism and trade wars. You have to be able to adapt to all of these things. As Charles Darwin's book was kind of precede, you have to adapt or die. And the reality is, if you look on the Standard & Poor 500 index, in 2016, the average tenure of companies there was 24 years. By 2027, it's estimated it'll be 12 years or even less. Now, 2027 is not very far away. So the pace of change is very, very rapid. And Jack Welch summed this up in a very pithy phrase when he said, if the pace of change on the outside is faster than the pace of change on the inside, then the end is near. Because you're not moving quick enough to keep up with the world around you. Now, when we think about keeping up with the world around us, and when we think about business transformation, there's no doubt that digital technologies dominate the conversation today. And often the two terms, digital transformation and business transformation, are conflated with each other. And I think that's okay, because as I said earlier, with this notion of IT now moving into the revenue generation and competitive differentiation realm, that's business. So calling them one or the other is quite okay. Let's talk a little bit more about that from a kind of pragmatic point of view. When Accenture did the research that underpinned their Accenture Technology Vision for 2021, 83% of the executives they spoke to agreed that business and technology strategies are becoming inseparable, even indistinguishable. What does that mean for you? It means if you're in business, you're an accountant, you're a marketing expert, you're a production expert, you're a human relations person, you have to pay attention to technology. It becomes part and parcel of the work that you do. It's not the job of the IT department only anymore. Now, let's take this notion of transformation a little bit further. It is not easy. Don't ever let anybody tell you that it is. Indeed, 500 years ago, Niccolo Machiavelli said, "It ought to be remembered that there is nothing more difficult to take in hand, more perilous to conduct, or more uncertain in its success than to take the lead in the introduction of a new order of things. Because the innovator has for enemies all of those who've done well under the old conditions, so they don't want to change, thank you very much. And the people you're trying to bring along through the change can't really understand what lies on the other side of it until they've experienced it." So transformation is hard. And that's why it's really important to partner with organizations that can bring you the help you need to drive the change through in your organization. It's also difficult because it's multifaceted. Just think about what needs to go on in your organization. On the one hand, you have to drive productivity improvements because that flows through to the bottom line and the profitability that enables you to keep investing in the future. You have to innovate for growth and value. You have to get the best talent you can find on board, and then you have to make sure they're really engaged in your mission. You have to deliver great customer experiences because you do all of this in the full glare of social networks today, so you have to be on the top of your game all the time. You have to do this sustainably and ethically. Everyone's looking at you for that today. And of course, as the pandemic has shown us, you have to be superbly resilient, able to take the knocks, and you have to be very, very agile, able to pivot very, very quickly in a new direction. And both of those things are really predicated on having deep insights from all of the information that is available to you across and beyond your organization. So it's difficult to do because of these various dimensions to it, but it can be very, very rewarding. Very critical in getting the rewards, though, is realizing it's not just about the data and the technology. A large component of this rests with the people in your organization, from the leadership downwards. You may have to unlearn what made you successful and relearn or newly learn what's going to take you forward. You may have to rebuild your culture to make it more dynamic and more open, because you're going to be part of an ecosystem moving forward. But if you get these two syntheses right, then you will move forward in a new way as an organization that is more resilient, more agile, much more competitive, profitable because it's more productive, and sustainable, which is also comes about because you're more productive and you use less resource to get the same things done. And talking about getting the same things done and being more efficient, in a McKinsey study a couple of years ago, just looking at the notion of putting robotic process automation into mundane business processes, they found that on average, you can improve, if you can automate 50 to 70% of the really routine tasks you do today, then you can achieve cost savings in those processes of somewhere between 20 and 35%. So that drops straight down into your bottom line. But equally, you speed up the cycle times by somewhere between 50 and 65%, depending on where you are today. And that speeding up not only makes your organization more responsive, but it also means you offer a much better customer experience in a world where the consumer today expects instant gratification. So business transformation is definitely worth doing, and there are many, many case studies available out there that will show you the benefits. And indeed at SAP, we run something called the Business Results Intelligence Network, where what we do is we take information about our customers and how well they use technology, and we correlate that to publicly available accounting data, and we're able to show that intelligent organizations, adaptive organizations, perform better than those who haven't embraced technology in quite the same way. Now, talking about embracing technology, how do you do this? One of your obvious choices is to go out and buy all the bits and pieces that you need from best of breed vendors or from open source or wherever, and put it all together yourself to create a unique set of capabilities for your business. You can certainly do that. The risks of that, though, are that it takes a long time to do. You may expose your organization to external risks if you don't get the governance and security aspects right, and you may push up your costs and increase your technical debt because now you have to do all of that integration. What we would advocate for is you rather make a decision for a platform that can take you into the future. A platform that allows you to run all of your business processes, extended beyond the four walls of your organization. Processes are central to everything because every single outcome you deliver is the result of some or other process happening. So when you think about those processes, it makes sense to adopt best practices, proven practices in particular domains like human capital management or finance or inventory management or manufacturing. You also require industry capabilities because every industry has its nuances. The way a pharmaceutical company details drugs to a doctor is different to the way fashion gets sold, and it's different to the way groceries get sold. So you need to have those nuances available to you. Equally, you've got to be able to build your own unique capabilities. And as you do that, you want to be able to reuse the capabilities that already exist in your best practice solutions and your industry solutions. And a platform that allows you to do all of that becomes essential as you move forward. On top of that, you need to think about experience management and usage management. How are the outcomes of all those processes that you run being perceived and received by the people who take those outcomes from you, whether that's customers or another department or another business in your value chain? Getting that information allows you to really fine-tune your operations. And it can feed back into things like R&D and product improvements as well. You have to network today. Suppliers, distributors, retailers, consumers, regulators, these are all part of the fabric of your business. And the more efficiently you can connect to them, the better you can share information with them, the more efficient the entire process becomes. And with that, you also get better insights into the sustainability impacts, which are going to be hugely important moving forward. And lastly, of course, you've got to be able to do all of this on the cloud, because with cloud infrastructure, you gain the flexibility that you need to be able to be agile. You gain the ability to operate at a scale which allows you to grow your business, and you retire a lot of your technical debt, because now somebody else has taken on that burden and is running it at a scale and with a set of efficiencies that you may not be able to achieve on your own. And wrapped around all of this, you have to be thinking about sustainability, because all of these decisions impact how sustainable your organization will be, not just from a carbon and a greenhouse gas and an energy usage point of view, but as a living entity, how long it will last into the future. So at SAP, that's what our Intelligent Enterprise Framework is all about. It's about providing you with all of the capabilities you need to build the modern, digital-ready, future-proofed organization. We provide those best practice solutions I talked about through our Intelligence Suite. We provide the industry capabilities through our Industry Cloud, where both we and our partners and our customers are building new industry capabilities. We provide the sustainability solutions that wrap around all of this and use the data from your operations to calculate what's happening from a sustainability point of view, so you can start to more efficiently report things like your greenhouse gas emissions. We plug you into the world's biggest network, comprising your suppliers from Ariba and Fieldglass, comprising your assets on the Asset Intelligence Network, and from a logistics point of view, the Logistics Business Network, where you will find those organizations that help to ship your products to wherever they need to get to. Very importantly, it's all open, so it runs on the hyperscaler that you want to work with. You can run on SAP data centers, but equally you can run this across Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Alibaba and Microsoft Azure. So it's a very, very complete set of capabilities. It's open, it gives you choice, but it brings you this integration that underpins a really efficient organization. And at the center of that all is SAP S/4HANA, a completely reimagined ERP system for the modern era, infused with artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotic process automation, a fantastic user experience, and great functional capabilities. So at the end of the day, what you get is not just the ability to run the material flows through your business, calculate all the financial and the value aspects of that, but now also the environmental impact of everything that you do. So just to start wrapping up here, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It doesn't matter what function you're in, and it doesn't particularly matter what your imperatives are for enterprise transformation or how far you want to go with that. With the SAP Intelligent Enterprise Framework, you enter it at your entry point that suits your business. You proceed at the pace you want to go, but what we will bring to you and help you deliver is real-time situational awareness, intelligent and fast decision-making, flexible value chains, environmental awareness, productivity improvements across the board, and those can be quite dramatic, and customer centricity to keep your customers and citizens coming back to you for whatever it is you provide them. So we'll unpack the core capabilities of the solutions in the framework in a future session. But for now, what we've talked about is the fact that we live in a world where we have to adapt to many different things, secular trends, new technologies, and VUCA-type events that happen in the world. We've talked about the fact that a lot of the adaptiveness required is predicated on digital technologies, and we've talked about the fact that it makes most sense to bring all of those technologies together in a coherent platform approach that allows you to get best practices quickly, innovate fast, and make sure that it all works seamlessly together. And that's really what SAP Intelligent Enterprise is all about. So thank you for sharing this bit of time with me. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you'll stay tuned for the future events and video casts that we put out there for you. Thank you.